Breaking Mzansi Insider reports. Soldiers have now arrived in Westbury in Johannesburg following earlier deployments in Eldorado Park and Riverlea. The move forms part of a broader security intervention aimed at tackling gang violence and illegal mining activities that have troubled several communities in the area. The deployment comes after President Cyril Ramaphosa announced during the State of the Nation address last month that members of the South African National Defence Force (SANDF) would be sent to crime-affected areas to support the South African Police Service (SAPS). The decision was made in response to ongoing concerns about gang-related violence and the growing influence of illegal mining networks. Westbury, Eldorado Park and Riverlea have for years struggled with gang activity, drug trafficking and frequent shootings, leaving residents living in fear and calling for stronger action from authorities. Government officials say the presence of soldiers is intended to help stabilize the situation while police continue investigations and crime prevention operations. The military will work alongside police officers to conduct patrols. The arrival of soldiers in Westbury has sparked strong reactions from residents, many of whom have lived under the shadow of gang violence for years. For some community members, the presence of heavily armed patrols offers a sense of relief and hope that authorities are finally taking decisive action against criminal groups that have long operated in the area. Residents say shootings, drug trafficking, and intimidation by gangs have become part of daily life in several neighborhoods across Westbury, Eldorado Park, and Riverlea. Parents have often expressed fear about allowing their children to walk to school or play outside, while local businesses have struggled due to crime and instability. Community leaders believe the deployment of the South African National Defence Force alongside the South African Police Service could help restore order, at least in the short term. Visible patrols, roadblocks, and increased monitoring of known crime hotspots are expected to disrupt gang activities and make it more difficult for criminal groups to operate freely. However, not everyone is convinced that the military presence will bring lasting change. Some residents recall previous security operations in which soldiers or additional police were deployed temporarily, only for gangs to re-emerge once those forces were withdrawn. Authorities say the deployment of soldiers to areas such as Westbury, Eldorado Park, and Riverlea forms part of a broader effort to restore stability in communities that have been heavily affected by gang violence and organized crime. The operation is expected to involve joint patrols, intelligence-driven raids, and close coordination between the South African National Defence Force and the South African Police Service. Officials believe that the presence of the military will strengthen law enforcement capacity in areas where police resources have been stretched due to the scale of criminal activity. By increasing visibility on the streets and supporting police operations, authorities hope to disrupt gang networks and reduce violent incidents that have plagued these communities for years. The deployment also targets criminal groups linked to illegal mining operations, which have increasingly been associated with armed syndicates. These groups are often involved in territorial disputes, extortion, and violent clashes that place local residents at risk. Government officials say tackling these networks is a key part of the strategy to improve safety in affected areas. President Cyril Ramaphosa emphasized during the State of the Nation address that the intervention is intended to support existing policing efforts rather than replace them.